Muslim history has seen many great commanders and leaders that serve various purposes. We'll be exploring 10 of the greatest Muslim commanders in history. Welcome back to another episode of FTD Facts. My name is Leroy Kenton, and now for this video, we did not include the Muslim Prophet Muhammad in this list since his significance in Islam is in a category of its own. But if you want to learn more about the history of the Prophet Muhammad, don't miss our video about him. The link to that video is below in the video description section. I highly recommend it. But let's get started in this episode. Starting at number 10, we have Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib. Hamza ibn Abd al-Muttalib was a foster brother and companion and paternal uncle of the Islamic Prophet Muhammad. But Hamza was martyred in the Battle of Uhud on the 22nd of March 625. He was also known by other names like Asad Allah, meaning the Lion of God, as well as Asad al-Jannah, meaning the Lion of Heaven. And there was another name that he went by that the Prophet Muhammad himself gave to him, and that was Sayyid ash-Shuhada. Moving on to number 9, we have Uqba ibn Nafi. Uqba was an Arab general serving the Rashidun Caliphate since the reign of Umar and later on the Umayyad Caliphate during the reigns of Muawiyah I as well as Yazid I, leading the Muslim conquest of the Maghreb, including present-day Algeria, Tunisia, Libya, and Morocco. Uqba was the nephew of Amr ibn al-As, and he is often surnamed Al-Fihri, and he's surnamed that way in reverence to the Banu Fihri, which was the clan connected to the Quraysh, which of course the Prophet Muhammad came from. His descendants would then be known as the Uqbids or the Fihrids. Uqba is the founder of the cultural city of Kairouan in Tunisia. Number 8 brings us Nusayba bin Ka'ab. Nusayba bin Ka'ab, also known as Amara, was one of the early women to convert to Islam. She was one of the companions also of the Prophet Muhammad. At the time when 74 leaders, warriors, and statesmen of Medina descended on Al-Aqaba to swear an oath of allegiance to Islam following the teaching of the new religion by Mus'ab ibn Umair in the city, Nusayba was one of the only women to personally pledge directly to the Islamic Prophet Muhammad. Her most well-known role came in the Battle of Uhud, where she defended the Prophet. Now, she also participated in the Battle of Hunain, Yamama, and the Treaty of Hudaybiyah. I definitely felt a woman needed to be included in this episode. Now, moving on to number 7, we have Sayyid ibn Abi Waqqas. Sayyid ibn Abi Waqqas was also known as Sayyid ibn Malik, and he was one of the companions of the Islamic Prophet Muhammad. Sayyid was reportedly the 7th person to embrace the religion of Islam, which he did at the age of just 17 years old. He's also very well known for his commandership in the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah and the Conquest of Persia in the year 636, as well as he's known for his governorship over Persia, as well as his diplomatic journeys to China in 651. Also, at the time of the Battle of Uhud, Said was chosen as an archer. Said was among those who fought in defense of the Prophet Muhammad after some Muslims had deserted their positions. They kind of just abandoned the battle. So the Prophet Muhammad honored him by declaring him one of the best archers of that time. During that time, as he fought along the Prophet Muhammad also gathered some arrows for him. KHALID ibn al-WALID comes in at number 6. KHALID ibn al-WALID was an Arab Muslim commander in the service of the Islamic Prophet Muhammad and the Caliphs Abu Bakr and Umar, who played a leading role in the Ridda Wars against the rebel tribes in Arabia in the years 632 to 633, as well as in the early Muslim conquests of Sassanid Iraq in the years 633 to 634, and also Byzantine Syria in the years 634 to 638. According to the historian Hugh N. Kennedy, following his conversion, KHALID began to devote all of his considerable military talents to the support of the new Muslim state. So we met 5 very influential commanders in Muslim history. We have 5 more to go, but before I get into the last 5 in this episode, I mentioned at the beginning that we do have a video about the Muslim Prophet Muhammad. We go into a lot more detail about his life, his history, his accomplishments, and what he is known for. I highly recommend that video. I have a link to it down below in the video description section. You can also find that video in the card section of this episode. So give that a click, keep it open so you can watch it right after this one. And also, if you're enjoying this video, be sure to leave a like on this episode for more content like this. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and ring that bell to keep up to date with our latest episodes. With that said, let's continue this list. At number 5, we have Amr ibn al-As. Amr ibn al-As was the Arab commander who led the Muslim conquest of Egypt, and he served as its governor in 640 to 646, as well as between 658 to 664. Amr embraced Islam in 629, and he was assigned important roles in the Muslim community by the Islamic prophet Muhammad. He was personally tasked by the prophet Muhammad with leading the raid of Dat al-Salasil, likely located in Western Arabia, and it was a lucrative opportunity for Amr in the view of the potential war spoils. And that was common because whenever you won a war, you would take all the spoils for yourself and maybe keep it all to yourself or divide it amongst your people. Either way, Amr launched the conquest of Egypt on his own initiative in late 639, and that's where he defeated the Byzantines in a string of victories, and those victories ended with the surrender of Alexandria in Egypt around the year 641 or 642. The specific date is not 100% known, or at least I couldn't find the specific date anyways. Now, it was said that this was practically the fastest of the early Muslim conquests, and Egypt has remained under Muslim rule ever since that time. Next up, at number 4, we have Al-Muthanna ibn Haritha. Al-Muthanna ibn Haritha was a Muslim Arab general in the army of the Rashidun Caliphate. He was also commander of the Muslim Arabs in Al-Hira, from where they were conducting different raids in the plains of Sasanian Mesopotamia. He was also among the commanders at the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah in the year 636, after the capture of Persian territory in Iraq by Muslim Arab forces and the departure of KHALID ibn al-WALID. Al-Muthanna was put in charge of Muslim Arab occupied territories of Iraq. From there, Al-Muthanna relied on his tribe, the Bakr, along with several other powerful Arab tribes, including the Taghlib and the Tamim, and he really depended on them to maintain control over the territories. Al-Qaqa ibn Amr al-Tamimi comes in at number 3. This man was from the Banu Tamim, and he and his tribe converted to Islam around the time of Anaf ibn Qais. He's known as a very successful military commander who took part in 2 important victories in early Muslim conquests. Those were the Battle of Yarmouk against the Byzantine Empire, and also the Battle of Al-Qadisiyah against the Sassanid Empire. Later, the Caliph Abu Bakr praised him as an equal to 11,000 men. So in return, the Caliph predecessor, Caliph Umar, only sent him a handful of bodyguards as reinforcements to Al-Qadisiyah as the first wave of reinforcement, making him one of the most efficient military figures of that time. Next up at number 2, we have Umar ibn al-Khattab. Umar was one of the most powerful and influential Muslim caliphs in history. He was a senior companion of the Islamic prophet Muhammad. Now, what's really important to note is that during his reign, almost the entire Sassanid Persian Empire were annexed to the Rashidun Caliphate. According to one of the estimates, more than 4,050 cities were captured during these military conquests. So prior to his death in the year 644, Umar had ceased all of his military expeditions, and this was to consolidate his rule in recently conquered Roman Egypt and the newly conquered Sassanid Empire. That happened between the years 642 to 644. And at the time of his passing away in November 644, his rule extended from the present-day Libya in the west to the Indus River in the east, as well as the Oxus River in the north. Now, coming in at number 1 in this episode, we have Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib was a cousin and son-in-law of the Islamic prophet Muhammad, who ruled as the 4th caliphate from the year 656 up until 661. And the thing is, Ali is regarded as the rightful immediate successor to the prophet Muhammad as an imam by Shia Muslims. Sunnis do not believe that though. With the exception of the Battle of Tabuk, Ali took part in all of the battles and expeditions fought for Islam. As well as being the standard bearer in those battles, Ali, he led military troops and warriors on raids into enemy lands, and Ali had played a major role in the Battle of Uhud as well as many other battles. This is why he is number 1 in this episode. Okay guys, so that concludes this episode on the 10 of some of the greatest Muslim commanders and leaders in history. Really hope you guys enjoyed this one. A lot of information that we shared. Be sure to leave your thoughts and comments about anything I talked about down below in the video description section. If you want to follow me on social media, those links are below in the video description section, and I'll also leave you the recommended episode that's going to be at the end screen. So once you see the annotation, give it a tap to keep on learning. All right, it's been awesome hanging out with you and sharing this information with you. I'll see you guys in the next episode.